South African sculptor and poet Professor Pitika Ntuli has been awarded a Global Fine Art People's Choice Award. Ntuli's Azibuyele Emasisweni returned to the source is an online exhibition of bone sculptures, and it won the U2 Award, which is one of two People's Choice Awards of the 7th Annual Global Fine Art Awards. The prize recognizes the best curated art and design exhibitions and installations around the world, and he joins us now to talk about this prestigious award. Good evening, Prof, and thank you so much for your time tonight. Congratulations. I wonder then if it has actually set in.
In the first, Ruzi Rusike, the curator, the Melrose Gallery, the 33 of our writers and singers, including my workmates, Jonathan and Sbo, are part of this celebration. It is more than me.
And as a team then, how are you, how are you feeling right now? Because you beat 115 nominees. Certainly that's not a small feat.
It is absolutely not a small feat. It also happens at the time when we are closing Lily's Farm, here, Pansy Museum, when our art institutions are being run down, our artists are occupying the offices of the National Arts Council, when the arts are just being downgraded. At least the global community itself realizes that what we are doing is worth doing. I think it's also very important to note that it is not just a group of experts who did this. A people's choice means every country in the world, wherever it is, was open to artists, museums, art lovers to make their choice, and they felt that we actually in South Africa are doing something that they feel that the globe requires.
As you talk about, some of those that you've mentioned, the closure of, Lily's Leaf Farm, we were actually in conversation with some of those who work there at the farm here on Newzroom Afrika just a few weeks ago, and they were talking about just how, they really would love to get support. And we've also been speaking to some of those artists who would have then been camping to try and get what's rightfully theirs. It must be a sore point for you to have to watch this unfold here at home while, the arts continues to then be recognized across the globe.
No, it is absolutely very, very, heart-rending. When you look for at least Lily's Farm, that's where much of our revolutionary struggle was actually being planned from an ANC perspective, where all the great thinkers of all colors, met. That is a history that we were looking for. And to add to that, the Apartheid Museum too, we are told, is also closing. It sounds as if there is almost a campaign to downgrade our heritage as well as our arts, and to try to discourage those people who want to be artists, because if you are an artist, then you have to be neglected, not taken absolutely very seriously.
And when you then got to that moment where you as a group heard the news that your work had won this prestigious prize, take us back to that moment when you heard the announcement as a group and all of you. How did you feel? What was going through your mind at the time?
The first thing that came over into my mind was to think of God rest her soul, as Bongiwe Zwane, who made a very significant contribution as one of the 33 contributors, who composed a song and also wrote a poem at the point when she was dying. And that's one of the last things that she did. And I also felt proud as an African person, that when this exhibition was conceived and we decided that we are going to involve 33 of our thinkers and writers, the Yvonne Shaka, the Napo, Mashiane, the Philippa de Villiers, of this world, the Eugene Smith in London, Shaheen Merali, a number of those people abroad. It became very, 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 very clear to us that we are doing these things the African way. That is why we say Azibuyele Emasisweni. To move away from just pure individualism, but on community based things. You are because I am. Therefore, a group of trees break the angry wind, but a tree that towers above the rest is broken by the wind. I didn't want to be the tree that is going to be broken by the wind, but to work side by side with all of the 33 people. The Aris, Professor Arisitas, Albisex, but thank you also to the Honorable Minister of International Relations, Naledi Pandor, who opened this exhibition, with whom we entered into very interesting kind of conversation on the state of the arts and the state of understanding. We chose it because we knew that she is in herself a very deep-rooted African person who understands the arts, who believes up in the arts, with whom some of us had shared our exile with.
And certainly when you look at this work, Azibuyele Emasisweni, as you say, they go back, return to the source, because certainly the source is important. Let's look then at what this work does to put South Africa's art on the global agenda.
So what happens is also very interesting, that while we are suffering under the onslaught of the pandemic, then we as artists, we drew actually into ourselves and said we are going to work up on bones, the healing bones. Because if you have an exhibition of bones, as a Sangoma, you are throwing bones. You are dividing the state of our nation. We are dividing the state of the environment that we are messing around so much. We created this in order that we have to focus on the issue of who we are, so that we can find remedies and healing powers that are indigenous also to us, even as we take other healing implements from other people.
And when we then look at this, of course, this exhibition, what was your overarching desire when you were all putting this work together? Because as you talk about the healing and the bones and the significance thereof, what was the overarching desire for this exhibition?
The overarching desire was to focus the minds of our people during the time of conflict as to who we are as a people, as an African people. Because whatever we do most of the time, these days, is kind of a Western-based things. We are doing it the Western way. We wanted to focus this thing that here we are a group of African people proud of who we are, and therefore come up with the art that is with us. It was also based upon the art that was produced mostly in the Congo. When you talk about the Minkisi are artworks that are medicinal. Some are made of wood and bone and rags and all of these. They're almost like people actually into themselves. So we're bringing back the Minkisis. That's the European people in France, the UK, and Belgium, and took away from our own continent in order to strengthen their own museums as well as art galleries. We are saying that African art is spiritual. It carries itself also issues of religion, politics, and everything. It is a totality of an expression in order to elicit a totality of feeling, of thinking, of empathizing with everybody else as well as the environment itself.
As someone who has, you were quite key in also fighting for the liberation of South Africa. It must, as we spoke about it a little earlier on, it continues to pain you that the arts is, at the state that it is in right now. What would your message be to those who have the ability to try and rescue this particular, institution?
Yeah, I'm wondering as to whether who has got, that, power, because we are where we are right now because of the people who are paid every month in order to promote, the arts. Okay? We are here at the same time with the people that the president of the country continues to pay, people who we know are presiding over the demise of our heritage. I spent 33 years of my life in a number of places. I've been in prison, imprisoned on the borders of a number of countries. I spent 1 year in solitary confinement in the death cells, where I had to make art with my, in solitary confinement, where I had to make art with my soap, my bread, my toilet, paper, because I was fighting that I must create a country where I will be free to celebrate my people, to put the monuments that celebrate our people. Instead, after all of this time, we are here with the people who are presiding over saying, get rid of colonial statues, get rid of apartheid statues, but they never speak about what should actually replace them. But I'm very happy that there are some moves that are beginning to happen, at least around Gauteng, which I cannot speak much about, where sanity begins to prevail. But all in all, it is a very disheartening, disappointing, frustrating. I cannot actually do this. But all the time, we are artists. We possess an unconquerable will. Because we love our people, it is. Let me put it this way, on record. We were running workshops like what we have done now in this Azibuyele Emasisweni, with people for as far as Mukopane and all the young people coming regularly to our places until we lost our funding. Because we are committed to it, we ended up selling our house in Durban. We sold a plot of land in KwaZulu-Natal, in Underberg, in order to keep these things going. Whatever happens, we are not going to be defeated. We are not going to be discouraged. We are not even going to, to be bitter. We are a creative people. We shall rise, and we shall triumph.
All right. Thank you so much for your time tonight. That was sculptor, poet, and author, Professor Pitika Ntuli.
Transatlantic bone at the bottom of the ocean. We children of Africa see eye to eye. On the journey we travel together, burdened with joined memories through betrayals, even by treacherous seas that carried us to distant foreign lands. We are the Mengisis they robbed us of, returned to protect our dreams in these nights of ceaseless perfidy of those charged to safeguard our souls.